This is ABC's World News Tonight. Here for Frank Reynolds in Washington, David Brinkley.
Good evening. The New York stock market, always bubbling and steaming with rumors, right and wrong, guesses and predictions, right and wrong, reacted in fear today to a prediction, right or wrong, that interest rates may soon be rising again. The result was a substantial drop in the Dow Jones, as ABC News economics editor Dan Kortz reports.
The wave of selling orders was touched off by Friday's completely unexpected $4.2 billion jump in the nation's money supply, a leap investors fear could force the Federal Reserve Board to nudge interest rates upward, and by a sobering Sunday forecast from a top financial economist.
But the forces now at work suggest to me very strongly that there's very little left to interest rates coming down from here on in a very meaningful fashion.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average plummeted 17 points in the first hour and later fell even lower before closing just below 1203, down almost 16 points. The sharp drop in interest rates is the main reason for the current economic recovery. In less than 2 years, the prime rate on business loans has plunged from 20.5% to 10.5%, aiding corporate profits. Mortgage rates have fallen from an average of about 18% to around 13%, spawning a burst of new home construction. And consumer loan rates are off from as high as 21% to as low as 15%, boosting sales of cars, appliances, and other big-ticket items. Even if rates don't go any lower, must think the recovery is in no immediate danger.
Clearly, we have quite a strong upswing going on despite the current level of interest rates. However, if things are not done to, for example, restrain the budget and other things, then you could have problems coming down the line.
In spite of the investor worries on display at the stock exchange, though, the recovery now seems to be right on schedule. As if to confirm that, the government reported today that the nation's factories operated last month at more than 71% of their capacity, the best performance since March 1982. Dan Kortz, ABC News, New York.
Another nervous prediction is that the tremendous federal deficit of about $200 billion and all the borrowing it requires will be a soggy, wet blanket holding down the economic recovery. President Reagan spoke today to the National Association of Home Builders and said he wanted the deficit reduced, but not by raising taxes. ABC's Mike Von Fremd reports.
The housing industry is on the rebound, and the president was anxious to tell the home builders that his economic policies have helped bring that about. But Mr. Reagan was equally anxious to deliver another sharp warning to Congress that he will not stand for a tax increase as a way to bring down the deficit.
Yes, the deficit doctors have their scalpels out all right, but they're not poised over the budget. That's as fat as ever and getting fatter. What they're ready to operate on is your wallet.
But at the same time the president was criticizing Congress, he was also speaking of the need to work together to reduce what he calls intolerable deficits.
The Congress needs to join in a bipartisan effort to cut irresponsible spending.
But Senator Lowell Weicker, one of the so-called Gang of Five Republicans who wants to increase taxes now, warned that the president should stop name-calling and compromise.
The Congress has compromised mightily already, and I think the time has come for the president to enter into the compromise process rather than the name-calling process.
Finance Committee Chairman Robert Dole yesterday called on the president to become more personally involved. But Majority Leader Howard Baker jokingly responded, "If the president were any more involved in the budget process, I don't think I could stand it." Republican Budget Committee members met on Capitol Hill late this afternoon, and they will meet with the president in the morning. But the White House says the president will not give on taxes, and the president's chief of staff, James Baker, who has been acting as a mediator, says that no budget resolution is better than a bad one. And if neither side gives, no budget is exactly what they'll have. Mike Von Fremd, ABC News, the White House.
Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, President Reagan will have a press conference and no doubt will give his views then on the budget and spending. ABC News will carry it live. Coming along, tornadoes hit several towns in Georgia, Florida, and Alabama, and cocaine use has spread far beyond the Hollywood crowd in Beverly Hills, and despite its enormous price, it is used or at least tried by about 10% of the total population.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Frank Reynolds in Washington, Max Robinson in Chicago, Peter Jennings in London. World News Tonight, brought to you by Effordent.
We asked Eleanor Bailey if she thought her denture cleanser could clean away cherry stain.
I would imagine so.
What about a stain of cherry and tea?
I don't think so.
Or a triple stain of cherry, tea, and tobacco?
I would be very skeptical.
Then watch Extra Strength Efferdent attack a triple stain of cherry, tea, and even tough tobacco with Efferdent's powerful Blue Action formula.
Efferdent cleaned the triple stain in between. I'm going home and use Efferdent.
Extra Strength Efferdent removes even stubborn stains between teeth.
When people pump their own gas, they sometimes forget to check things. So when they come in for service...
Mr. Goodwrench, there's something wrong.
Well, let's take a look.
Mr. Goodwrench knows your GM car. He has the right tools and the right GM training available to spot your problems fast.
Mr. Goodwrench?
Nothing serious. Just needs a tune-up. By the way, your oil is low. Here's how to check.
Keep that great GM feeling.
With Mr. Goodwrench.
With genuine GM parts.
Spring is supposed to be the best weather of the year, but this one in much of the country has been one bad day after another. As today in several southern states where tornadoes hit in the early morning, causing damage and injuries. Here's ABC's Jay Shadler.
The tornadoes came shortly after dawn, violently hopscotching their way through a half-dozen southeastern communities. In Tallahassee, a twister slammed into the city's airport, demolishing a hangar and temporarily trapping 6 people inside.
Section I was in was really about right in the middle of the hangar, and you really couldn't even get under anything because before you had a chance to do anything, the whole building was on top of you.
The Tallahassee storm was part of a slow-moving cold front pushing across the southeast, spawning tornadoes and heavy rains throughout parts of Georgia, Alabama, and North Florida. Hardest hit was the small South Georgia town of Blakely, where 12 people were hospitalized when a twister smashed into a mobile home park, leaving behind a half-mile-wide stretch of devastated homes. At the Blakely airport, 8 private planes were lifted off the runway and scattered into a nearby woods. And in Rowena, 15 miles away, a mobile home was exploded by a twister, injuring 4 people, 1 critically. Further to the north, in Columbus, Georgia, still more damage to trees, power lines, and homes.
The branches of the tree came on through the house, and it just missed me.
In the wake of the storms, cleanup operations have already begun, as residents quite literally begin picking up the pieces of their lives. Jay Shadler, ABC News, Atlanta.
11 days ago, an Eastern Airlines L-1011 jet lost all 3 engines shortly after it left the Miami airport because its mechanics had neglected to install 3 oil seals. In a federal government hearing today, it came out the seals had been left off before, as ABC's Mark Potter reports from Miami.
During the hearing, it was revealed that Flight 855 was not the first time an Eastern L-1011 jet lost engine power in mid-flight because the tiny oil seals called O-rings were missing. The new information comes from an Eastern Airlines internal memo written nearly 2 months before the near crash of Flight 855. The March 8th memo warns Eastern mechanics to be careful to put in the O-rings and says, "Yesterday we dispatched an L-1011 with a chip detector with no O-rings installed. This caused another in-flight shutdown due to loss of oil."
This is the 5th or 6th such occurrence since we started to do the N7204-5.
N7204-5 is a maintenance procedure that Eastern says it began in July 1981 to put chip detectors in the engines to test the oil for metal flakes. The detectors are supposed to contain tiny O-rings to keep the oil from leaking out. An Eastern spokesman today confirmed the 5 or 6 in-flight incidents, but will not provide specifics, only to say they involved the loss of just 1 engine per flight and did not endanger anyone. Because of Flight 855, Eastern Airlines says it has changed its maintenance procedures. O-rings and chip detectors are stored together now in the same packages, which Eastern hopes will prevent one from being installed without the other. Mark Potter, ABC News, Miami.
Aaron Fleming, a friend of Groucho Marx's until his death, was charged with threatening and defrauding him in his last years in order to pay nearly $500,000 in damages. Today, a judge cut that amount in half. It may mean a new trial. In Brentwood, Long Island, New York, a teacher's aide, recently fired, returned to the East Junior High School where he blamed the students, as he put it, for messing up my career. He shot and wounded the principal and a student. Then he held 6 students hostage in a classroom and said he would not leave the school alive.
The secret of a fine wood finish is no secret. It's Minwax, a very trusted name in wood finishing products. See how easy it is to bring out the best coloring wood with Wood Finish by Minwax. And for extra protection, take your choice of polyurethanes and other protective finishes by Minwax. The difference shows with wood finishing products by Minwax. And that's no secret.
No matter what the season, you must be strong to survive change. America's life insurance companies have shown the strength to weather economic change. In fact, while the cost of living tripled since 1960, increasing a family's need for more protection, the cost per $1,000 of life insurance went down 22%. We're working to help all Americans afford the protection they need. America's life and health insurance companies, a growing commitment to America's life and health.
Buick wants to remind everyone that the Skylark is an economical car. Considering its appearance, you can see why that's necessary. The interior is spacious, really upscale. And you don't find trunk room like this in many economical cars. So where does Skylark find room to be economical? Well, they found a nice little place for it.
Now get 9.9 annual percentage rate financing on any new Skylark at your participating Buick dealer.
Private industry will now be allowed to buy Atlas, Titan, and other missiles formerly used only by the government, and at its own expense fire them into space to launch communications satellites. ABC News' Carol Simpson has a report.
With the successful flights of the space shuttles, NASA proved that it had a dependable workhorse to carry satellites into space, a cargo carrier it could use and use again. For the 25 years before the shuttle, NASA employed what are called expendable launch vehicles. These were unmanned rockets which were destroyed once their missions were accomplished. Rockets such as the Delta, the Atlas Centaur, and the Titan. The government has decided to phase them out in favor of what it hopes will be a more cost-effective fleet of space shuttles. The companies which make the rockets, Martin Marietta, McDonnell Douglas, and General Dynamics, have been clamoring to use the rockets commercially, primarily to boost communication satellites into space. Today, President Reagan agreed. To encourage private enterprise in space, the president said the government would sell back the unused rockets to commercial firms and permit them to launch the vehicles from existing launch pads. Mr. Reagan said the move would not only save the government money, but maintain U.S. leadership in space transportation. Members of Congress are expected to be more receptive to this proposal than they were to President Reagan's plan to sell weather satellites to private industry. There will be hearings on Capitol Hill tomorrow, and the early indications are that President Reagan will get what he wants. There will be rockets for sale. Carol Simpson, ABC News, Washington.
And now the news from overseas. In the Middle East today, both the Israeli and Lebanese parliaments approved the agreement by which Israeli troops are supposed to leave the country. The agreement will probably be signed tomorrow, but no one is leaving. The Israelis won't go until Syria does, and the Syrian foreign minister told a Beirut newspaper Syria will block the agreement. The Lebanese-Israeli agreement does give Israel a security role inside Lebanon, and whether the Syrians believe it or not, they say that puts South Lebanon under Israeli domination and threatens Syrian security. The other subject which will attract a lot of attention this week is the effort to reduce nuclear weapons in Europe. Both American and Soviet negotiating teams have returned to Geneva to begin their 71st session. Even before they meet again, each side has said that the latest proposal from the other is unacceptable. The U.S. delegation, led by Paul Nitze, will be wanting to discuss at least an interim accord. But as ABC's Bob Zelnick reports from Moscow, that depends on what's included.
With the return of Paul Nitze to Geneva, both Western diplomats and Soviet analysts here say the question of partial NATO missile deployment dwarfs all other issues at the talks. Western defense strategists say the military value of Pershing II and cruise missiles more than offsets any military retaliation the Soviets are expected to take. And they say agreeing not to deploy, in effect giving the Soviets a veto over NATO weapons, could be fatal to the alliance in the long run. Soviet analysts argue there is no need for NATO deployment. They claim Yuri Andropov's proposal to reduce Soviet warheads to the combined British-French total would mean fewer launches and warheads targeted on Europe than in 1976, 3 years before NATO decided on its own deployment. One idea discussed in both camps would count British but not French nuclear forces in the NATO total. Soviet sources insist that political opposition to deployment will be so damaging to the West that they will sign no deal, taking Western leaders off the hook. Both Soviet and Western sources agree that other issues can be settled, and there has been talk of finessing the question of Soviet SS-20s in Asia by setting a numerical limit high enough to meet Soviet security concerns, but not so high as to permit the wholesale redeployment of European missiles. Still, the overwhelming consensus among both Soviet analysts and Western diplomats here is that this round at Geneva will not produce a settlement. The bottom NATO line remains partial deployment, while the bottom Soviet line is niet. Bob Zelnick, ABC News, Moscow.
In Poland today, police say they will investigate the death of a student who died after having been in their custody. The student's mother says he was severely beaten by police. She works with the once independent union Solidarity, and the death of just one person in the past has led to serious anti-government demonstrations. Poland's Roman Catholic primate arrived in Rome today. Cardinal Glemp said he and John Paul will discuss the final details of the Pope's visit to his homeland in June. Cardinal Glemp said he did not know if the Pope would be meeting with Lech Wałęsa.
When America wanted a go-anywhere radio for light trucks, Goodyear came through with the all-season Wrangler.
I've got Goodyear, I'm riding on #1.
The go-anywhere Wrangler. One good reason why Goodyear outsells all the foreign radios combined.
I've got Goodyear, I'm riding on #1. I've got Goodyear, I'm riding on #1.
What's the difference between these two antacids? This tablet's chalky and hard, but this antacid is soft. It's Remarkable Tempo.
It's a whole new experience. Great relief from my heartburn.
There's nothing quite like Tempo for my acid indigestion and gas.
Tempo is made soft to dissolve fast and work hard. Compared to the leading tablet, Tempo is 75% stronger in acid neutralizing power.
And it doesn't taste chalky or gritty.
Remarkable Tempo, made soft to work hard.
This is Purolator Courier's new Purolator. Before you send an overnight letter with anyone else, think twice. Once, because no one gets it there overnight with Purolator's reliability. Twice, because Purolator Courier's breakthrough price is lower than anyone else's. Anyone's. $8.75. So think Purolator, the new Purolator Courier Purolator. It's got a breakthrough price of $8.75. Purolator Courier. Overnight, not overpriced.
I know this Hart's 2-in-1 plus reflecting flea and tick collar really saved my cat's life, because I was driving the car that almost hit her. I was about a half a block from home. I don't know how she got out, but all of a sudden I saw a bright glow up the street. Her Hart's collar was reflecting my headlights. Thank goodness I had time to stop. Cats really need nighttime safety. Plus they get 5 months of flea and tick protection, all from the Hart's 2-in-1 plus reflecting collar. Now the famous Hart's flea and tick killer can be a lifesaver too.
A study at the University of California finds a woman can use birth control pills for about 5 years without ill effect, but much longer than that, and particularly over 10 years, she will run a higher risk of skin cancer. Not long ago, the main export of Colombia in South America was coffee. Now it is cocaine, exported to the United States, where it brings a vastly higher price than coffee. Its use in the United States is rising at an alarming rate, and there are more efforts to help those who are addicted, as Judd Rose reports from San Francisco.
Just a few years ago, it was a private plaything for the privileged, the drug known to some as Uptown. But Uptown has gone downtown with frightening speed. In just the past 2 years, the number of Americans who've tried cocaine has jumped from 15 million to 22 million. Every day, about 5,000 more take their first dose or toot. As many as 5 million snort, shoot, or smoke cocaine every month. And of those, some experts think up to 1 million are hooked. Now, more and more are trying to get help. More than 12,000 coke users were known to be in treatment by the end of last year. Each month brings new efforts to fight the white line fever that spread from Miami to Denver to San Francisco. In the hospitals of this city, doctors see more cocaine victims than almost anywhere in America. And here, too, are some of the most diverse programs to combat the cocaine crisis. One of them takes place north of San Francisco in a rustic old resort. For some, it's now a last resort.
Little toot? Oh, thanks. It's all yours. Take a good look? That's okay. I don't do it anymore. Okay. It's okay.
Desensitization, the therapist calls it. He's offering powder, pipes, and paraphernalia to coke addicts, testing their ability to say no after just a few days away from cocaine and everything else. Wilbur Hot Springs is 20 miles from the nearest town. It sports a century-old Victorian hotel, mineral baths, and activities like nature hikes, acupuncture, and aerobics. The price is almost $1,000 for 5 days of therapy. The program is called Coke-Enders.
I'm getting people who are blue-collar workers, and I'm getting multi-millionaire entrepreneurs, and carpenters and mechanics and lawyers and doctors and celebrities. They're all walks of life.
I'm 32 years old. I'm on my third wife. The other two I literally traded for cocaine.
Jeffrey Rounds is a heavy equipment operator and current Coke-Enders patient. Clint Spencer is a Coke-Enders graduate, a former theater manager on Broadway, who last year spent $150,000 on cocaine.
It's easy to say no. It's easy now. There's a time in my life it wouldn't have been impossible to say no.
For those who prefer hospitals to hot tubs, there are facilities like San Francisco's French Hospital, offering a 3-week inpatient program for almost $6,000. The regimen is familiar.
The people here are scared, they're paranoid, they have lost a lot of money. A lot of them come in saying, you know, if I don't do something, I'm going to die.
But how many stay clean? Most programs are too new to be fairly judged, and even those who claim a high rate of success admit they can't be sure. Drug addicts are accomplished liars. Still, the desire to go straight is there. In Hollywood, hundreds are joining Cocaine Anonymous, and every day, 1,000 callers dial
800 cocaine. Can I help you?
That's 800 Cocaine, a new toll-free hotline based in New Jersey, a service for coke addicts who don't know where to turn.
We've had one family call and announce that they had sold their baby to support the cocaine habit of a member of that family.
From every state, the calls, the cries for help are pouring in. Cries of homes wrecked, health ruined, lives destroyed. Cries from those who paid $150 a gram to travel uptown, only to find there's a much higher price at the end of the line. Judd Rose, ABC News, San Francisco.
The Smithsonian Institution's collection of American artifacts is one of the most interesting museums in the world. But like all collectors, it has run out of space, and today it opened a new warehouse to hold the overflow. It will hold 350,000 biological specimens in jars of alcohol, 300,000 dried flowers, the world's biggest collection of bugs, 7 million mosquitoes, fleas, ticks. The Smithsonian is called this country's attic, but it now has an item probably not found in your grandmother's attic. For its natural history display of sea animals, it has a 7,000-gallon tank for boiling the fat out of whale carcasses.
What kind of people drink Sanka? Tugboat captain, Case Flew.
Maneuvering a giant cargo ship takes steady nerves, and too much caffeine doesn't help. One wrong move, and I've got tons of scrap metal on my hands. That's why I look forward to relaxing with a cup of Sanka. It really tastes great, without the caffeine I don't need. For me, that's a perfect fit.
Sanka brand decaffeinated coffee for people who love coffee but not caffeine.
Anyone for total?
No, we're having Raisin Bran.
Hope you're hungry. Starving? Good. Because you'll have to eat 4 bowls of Raisin Bran to get the vitamin nutrition in 1 bowl of Total.
You're kidding.
Nope. Whole wheat Total has 100% of a day's worth of 9 vitamins and iron. Raisin Bran, 25%. It takes 4 bowls to equal Total's vitamin nutrition.
Tastes good, too.
What happened to Raisin Bran?
We're not that hungry.
For the start, that's bowls apart. Total.
Out here, survival against the elements is what it's all about. And when it comes to surviving against rust, that's what Krylon Rust Magic is all about. On metal surfaces like this, grueling tests against fog and acid rain proved even the leading national brand can't beat Krylon Rust Magic protection. And Rust Magic dries hours faster. Krylon Rust Magic for tough, fast-drying rust protection.
In other news overseas, volcanologists are not quite sure what to do next in their battle with Sicily's Mount Etna. Saturday's attempt to divert the flowing lava away from populated areas was only partially successful. The 900 pounds of dynamite did not entirely remove a barrier between the natural lava stream and a man-made canal designed to make the lava go where man wanted it to. In the Swiss Alps, there has been a sudden landslide on Mont Blanc. 3 people are missing. A major road between Switzerland and eastern France was blocked. Switzerland has had only 6 days without rain in the last 2 months. Last night, it had as much rain as it usually gets in the whole month of May. And finally, from here in Britain, everything you've ever believed about the weather in this country is coming true. If there is anything to evolution at all, a great many people here should be developing webbed feet. Well, before the British Tourist Board jumps all over me, it doesn't always rain here. That is, except for the last month and a half. Here's ABC's Mike Lee.
For 30 days in a row now, it has rained in London. In fact, there have been only 6 dry days here since mid-March. April was the wettest month since 1940, and the country is now only 10 days away from matching the biblical record which launched Noah's Ark.
Sort of heavy showers coming up into...
Britain's computerized Weather Forecast Center is tracking an unusually prolonged series of North Atlantic storms.
The fact that it's been going for 6 or 7 weeks, it's a long time, and you could say that on average we're due for a change, but at the moment we can't see a change.
Satellite photographs aren't the only sign of weather depression around here.
Oh, it's dreadful. It's the most dreadful thing that's ever happened.
There's been no heavy flooding because the showers come and go, and come and go. Despite what the weather forecasters here call occasional sunny intervals, most betting people here would rather put their money on racing hounds and horses than the chance that this British spring will last any longer than 48 hours at the most.
What it is, the odds are 5 to 1 against the not raining over 2 days.
In the meantime, Londoners have begun to figure out just who or what is really behind the bad weather.
So that stuff they've got up in space.
Could have been the comet that we had.
Maybe we can blame it on the Russians or something.
So far, it's just all water off what an Englishman calls his brolly. And England can cope with just about anything, as long as she has a nice cup of tea. Mike Lee, ABC News, London.
Once again, tonight's top story. Wall Street reacted feverishly to a prediction that interest rates might soon begin rising, and if so, the economic recovery could be slowed down, with the result that the market fell substantially, almost 16 points. Later tonight on Nightline, an interview with Phil Donahue and the woman who won a huge lawsuit against him. For all of us at ABC News, thank you and good night.
From ABC, this has been World News Tonight.
Monday, an ABC network television premiere.
Murder.
Anyone could have done it.
You can't pin that on me.
Me?
Everyone had a reason. Betty Davis.
It's incredible.
Mia Farrow, Maggie Smith, and Peter Ustinov. Death on the Nile.
Tonight.
Coming up on Channel 2 News, the former mayor of Richmond